Whereas 500-600 years ago, that was impossible. You couldn't have done that 500 or 600 years ago. And so I'm trying to articulate what I call 6 main points of agreement that I think I can confidently say that millions of us around the world, secular and religious alike, agree with. Now, these can be said in religious terms, secular terms, or a combination of two. I'll first say it in using one term of each, a secular term and a religious term, and then I'll show you how you can do it otherwise. So reality, I'll first say it like a mantra or like a creed for me. This is my credo. Reality is my God. Evidence is my scripture. Big history is my creation story. Ecology is my theology. Integrity is my salvation. And ensuring a just and healthy future is my mission. Now to say the same thing in secular terms. Reality is my ultimate concern. What I'm suggesting is that there's tens of millions of people that would align, they may have not heard this language exactly, but would align with this sentiment, that reality, as evidentially known and collectively discerned, it should be our ultimate commitment, our ultimate concern. Living in right relationship with reality. So reality is our ultimate concern, or really saying reality is our God. Evidence is the primary way reality is revealing itself. And as Ken Wilber points out, there's not one form of evidence. Different disciplines have different criteria for what counts as evidence. And all that needs to be validated. But nonetheless, evidence, including the evidence of our subjective experience, but evidence is what is our best map of reality. It's our best understanding of what's real and what's important. Big history is our creation stories, is that the creation story, see, all cultures have had to have a creation story. That helps you know who you're related to, where you came from, where things are going. It's a culture's sacred story. It's their cosmology or their creation myth. And we now have a creation myth that can unite all of humanity because it's the first and only globally produced and evidence-based creation story. There are Christian scientists, Buddhist scientists, atheist scientists, Hindu scientists, New Age scientists that are all contributing to big history. So it's the history of everyone and everything. It's what Brian Swim and Thomas Berry called the universe story, or what Edward O. Wilson called the epic of evolution. So reality is our God, evidence is our scripture, big history is our creation story. And it also lets us know that we're related to everything. We're related to all forms of life. In fact, one of my favorite quotes, Marlon Lavenar is the pastor of the largest Unitarian church in the world, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, believe it or not. And he said, you know, we've all heard some fundamentalist-minded person say, don't tell me I'm related to monkeys. But now that we understand DNA and have cracked its code, we know that we're not just related to monkeys, we're related to zucchini, so let's get over it. You know? So reality is our God, evidence is our scripture, big history is our creation story. Ecology is our theology, that is the science of living in right relationship to nature. To reality. See, sometimes people will say, well, what do you mean by reality? You're saying reality is your God. What do you mean by reality? I like Philip K. Dick's definition. Reality is that which, when you stop believing in it, doesn't go away. So what's fundamentally, undeniably, inescapably real, to live in right relationship to that, is what it's really all about. And again, that's internal and external and social. And so I think there are 3 things that we can confidently say are real, whether we believe in them or not. One is mystery. Not just the realm that we don't know, but the entire realm that we don't even know that we don't know. It doesn't matter whether you believe in mystery or not. Mystery is real. Time is real. Now, sometimes spiritual people sort of bristle at that, but the past is real. I mean, yes, the only place you can experience the past is in the present moment, of course. But nonetheless, 13.8 billion years of creativity made this moment possible. And if you think that's not real, you're deceived. And the future, if you act as if the future is not real, we will condemn the future if we act as if the future is not real. So time, yes, you can't sort of touch it, but nonetheless, time is mysterious, but it's also inescapably real whether we believe in it or not. And nature is real, whether we believe it or not. Again, our inner nature, our outer nature, our social nature, and our interpretive nature. And interpretation is important, because that's why having a meaningless interpretation is deadly. We know of no culture in the history of humanity that has survived for any length of time without an I-thou relationship to time and nature. Martin Buber, the famous Jewish theologian, wrote a book called I and Thou, and he said, if we treat any person or any aspect of nature as an it, to be used or exploited by us, rather than a thou, to be honored and to be related to in a respectful way, he said the divine is not present, God is not present. And he ultimately said that we will cause our own extinction if we continue to treat nature as an it. So this is a big deal, whether we relate to nature and life and time and mystery as an it. Most of us don't relate to mystery as an it, but we certainly often, our culture, Western society, industrial society, has related to nature as an it. So that's why we've relegated God to the heavens, and we thought of nature just as an it, and that is no longer sustainable. So reality is our God. Evidence is our scripture. Big history is our creation story. Ecology is our theology. Integrity is our salvation. What I mean is that integrity are the character traits and practices and habits of living in right relationship to reality. It's all the things that help us live in right relationship to our spouse and our children and our family members and our community and our bioregion, and that's what I mean by integrity. I don't mean just being honest. I mean it's the practices and exercises and habits that help us live in right relationship to reality. And that really is our salvation. Again, for Christians, they personify that as Jesus. And sure enough, your only hope of salvation is to make integrity your Lord. That is, prioritize integrity over, following your instincts for sex or for whatever. Again, my last TED Talk was all about why we struggle and why we're tempted and all that. It's got nothing to do with our great-great-great-great-grandmother eating an apple. It's got to do with our mismatched instincts. And then finally, so reality is our God, evidence is our scripture, big history is our creation story, ecology is our theology, integrity is our salvation, and ensuring a just and healthy future is our mission. And that's really the core of the message, the gospel, if you will, that I'm speaking this year on this climate march, is this understanding. It's mythic, I get that, it's not literal, but it's mythic, but that the past is rooting for us. That you've got millions of generations and millions of individuals that in your lineage, that are your ancestors, that if they hadn't struggled and suffered and just, you wouldn't even be alive today. And so the past is rooting for us. That's a mythic way of thinking that's inspiring. It can help us wake up to do what's right and to do something that's healthy. And also, the future is calling us to greatness. So the sense that the past is rooting for us and the future is calling us to greatness is a meme. It's an idea that can inspire all of us, because it doesn't matter what your religion, what your philosophy, what your metaphysics, it doesn't matter whether you're a supernaturalist or a naturalist, it doesn't matter. All that stuff, it's cool and it can inspire us, but it doesn't matter how you think about the afterlife or all of that. We can have all our differences, and that's cool. But if we all act as if the past is rooting for us and the future is calling us to greatness, we will participate in what God's up to. That is what reality is doing, and we will basically be doing the work, to use my tradition, the work of the kingdom. That is the work of the divine unfolding in consciousness, in culture. Because the last thought I want to say is that we are the universe becoming conscious of itself. We are not separate from nature. So we've got this trajectory of billions of years of creativity, and we now are the universe, after some 13.8 billion years of creativity, now exploring its own nature. So that's who we are. We are the universe becoming aware of itself. And so that sense of identity with the process it awakens our sacred calling, so that to be of service to the future, there's no more holy task. Because good, bad, great, and evil have always been defined by how we impact others and how that ripples out to the future. If I'm a contribution to you or to the future, I've done a good thing. If I harm others or harm the future, I've done a bad thing. If I sacrifice in order to be a blessing to others of the future, I've done a great thing or a heroic thing. But if I'm an individual or corporation and I self-centeredly serve my own needs, screw others, to hell with the future, I've done an evil thing. This is not moral rocket science. We don't need 10 commandments to tell us this. And so for us to sacrifice, for us to lessen our impact on the planet, and to use our gifts and not worry about perfecting ourselves. So many people in the East are trying to just sort of witness all their troubling things, and they want to get perfect. And the people in the West are trying to study their Bible. Our flaws are necessary. The universe needs our flaws and insecurities and shortcomings. We don't have to get it all right in order to be a blessing to the future. So taking all that we are and all that we're not, and simply finding some way of being a blessing to the future.